Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. We're like a book club for people who hate reading. This week we're doing the movie South Central, made in 1992, and James brings you movie news. This week we have Jonathan Chang, James Stevens, and Ryan Preston.
Deuces.
I got it here. South Central, 1992, directed by Stephen Milburn Anderson. Man is put to prison for 10 years. Coming out of prison, he wants to live a normal life and stop with the crime, but his son has yet followed. Stop with crime, but his son has yet followed the criminal path of his father.
Giggity.
Hope y'all got that.
Yeah, sure.
I gotta say, reading the description, I thought the son would have been older on this movie.
Well, sort of. I mean, he was like 1 or whatever when he went into prison.
Well, yeah, but I mean, just when you go in this movie, you expect the son to be, I don't know, his mid-teens, maybe 20. I wasn't expecting the kid to be 8.
No, he was 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10.
But yeah, well, the description sort of skips the first half of the movie because there was the whole thing that happened with Bobby.
I think it skips more than the first half.
No, I don't think it really skips too much, actually.
As far as the main story is concerned, but there's a kind of a lot of sort of character, stuff leading up to it,
Yeah. No,
he was 10. I mean, there was a reason that he was that young. Because kids are that young when
they start doing those things. I'm gonna pass this one off to John to start off.
Really?
Yeah, unless Ryan wants to jump in.
No, I'll go.
Because Ryan and I both have seen this before.
My first thought when I saw this movie is because in the 90s, it's like there were so many of these movies come out. I was actually trying to think of the difference between this movie, Juice, Boys, all the other movies.
Menace, Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, because there's so many of them.
Yeah, there were.
In the 90s, they seemed to come out like once every week.
But no, go on. I'm not going to jump into why I picked this yet.
Well,
you almost had me going.
It was actually an interesting movie. I love the fact that this movie is solely a character-driven movie.
Yeah,
and it's a character, and even some of the character development is used just to drive the plot forward, which is interesting because you don't see a whole lot of movies that are solely character-driven and the plot is driven off the way the characters have evolved.
Yeah.
They give you like a shotgun blast of a little bit of information that moves forward from there. Yes, I know.
Distasteful.
just not cool.
Too soon, man.
By the way, I love the intensity of the Muslim character.
That was one of my favorites.
Because this is the thing I thought was interesting.
He's a man. Do you see a man in front of you?
If you actually see him, every time that character's on screen, he's on the edge of self-control. Right on the edge. Like, if you push him anymore, he would have done something he regretted.
Well, I mean, think about it, though. The what he tells about his history, I mean, he literally ripped those people apart.
Yeah.
And what his intensity sort of relayed to me was more of just his resolve of how much he's a nonviolent person now,
Yeah, but I think it also shows how much violence is still in him. I think that's what it was, because you see him kind of fighting back a little, I think. That's what I saw.
Well, you see him sort of, doing what he has to protect, people that he cares about.
He's putting, I guess the best way to say it is like, you can see him, he's kind of putting on the brakes a little bit, because you could still see him, he has the way his eyes are, and the main character that happens later on in the movie, when the guy's holding a gun to his son, and you could see he does the same thing. You could see his old self is still there, but he doesn't want to go there. So he's doing the same wide-eyed, like, I dare you to push me.
Yeah, and but I like the part when they're both in the cell, and he's sitting there, and he's like, "Are you going to preach to me?" And he just pops right up and shows that the intensity is there, and he basically says, "Yes, I am going to preach to you, and you are going to listen."
That was the scene that I'm not a person to fuck with.
Yeah,
because
it was a scene that I'm a person to be respected. You know what I mean? Like obviously with the scene, in the broom closet, whatever the hell that was, with the Aryans.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily about like, hey, I'm threatening violence. He even said like, look, I don't want any trouble with the Aryan Brotherhood. But at the same time, you can tell that he's respected there.
I thought that was kind of the Rorschach moment, because they were trapped in there with him.
Yeah,
that's kind of the way I looked at it. Well, I mean, he was non-violent, but you could see in everybody's faces that he may be non-violent, but they realize
he will defend himself.
They realize he's here for a reason, and he's non-violent now. What did he do? You know, that was kind of the vibe I got from him. And I thought it was interesting too how they all praised in the beginning, how they praised the main character, you know, for doing dirt and killing the guy. But you didn't see the really support him all that much.
Right. Yeah. It was all sort of surface. You know what I mean? And you know, like oh, you know, yeah, we're brothers, but then here, do this stuff for us, and you know, oh, go to jail for us. You know.
Yeah. And it plays out kind of the end when he's like, well, half this stuff is yours. But you did, you know, my thought was, but you didn't go out to see him. You knew he got out. You didn't do anything.
Yeah. Well, the character that bugged my wife, because she watched this one with me, was his
baby mama.
Yeah, his baby mama, I guess is what you would say. Yeah, she's like, that chick really bugged me, because every time that he came across her, it was like, why didn't you tell me you were getting out? I would have done this or this, and then it's just
I would have done my hair.
Yeah, I would have done my hair. And she's like, that's all she has to say to him is, I missed you, and I would have done my hair.
And every time he sees her, she's high or drunk.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. You never see her like, hey, how you doing? It's,
well, no, there was one scene where she wasn't high. She was trying to get high and drunk.
Yeah.
But it was the same thing. You know, every time she had kind of that laid-back, slurred speech, like, hey, baby. You know, you never saw her in that environment, which I also think is telling to the environment they're living in, though, that it shows that the environment is so screwed up that being high is better than being sober.
Well, and it shows how sort of ingrained into the type of neighborhood that kind of shit is.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, this was all about characters. I mean, it was a really low budget movie. I mean, this thing had like $4 million, and that was mostly just, I think so, you know, distribution and soundtracking and, you know, the more audio stuff. But I mean, it was probably made for a lot less.
It definitely wasn't for renting out all the sets.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, let me get into why I picked this movie now. I picked this movie because, like you said, there was a bunch of them that came out in the early 90s. There's Juice, there's Menace to Society, there's Boys in the Hood, and then there's this one. And as far as all of those go, I think this one, out of all of them, has always stuck with me.
I think this one is the most poignant.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
The story they tell here is one that is a really good story. I think there's a lot to it. You kind of see
it's a redemption story.
It is a redemption story. It really is, and it shows not only how impoverished the area was and how little jobs except for going out and doing dirt, as you said.
Well, I mean, the whole doing dirt thing in the beginning. You hear all the talk about, look, this is protecting our neighborhood.
Yeah.
This is obviously the cops aren't protecting us. We got to protect ourselves, protect our family, protect our neighborhood. You know, started with the best of intentions, but then, you know, money and drugs, and then everything just gets corrupt.
Exactly, and that's kind of where it comes to. Is that was actually the purpose of the gangs, and they even talk about it when they're in their little clubhouse. Mm-hmm. I guess you could call it, you know. Right. And he's talking, and he brings up their parents, Bobby's parents and Ray Ray's parents. Is, you know, he says, you know, our fathers are locked up because of the Watts riots, and that's where gangs actually, a lot of them came from.
Yeah, Black Panthers were started specifically because white cops wouldn't patrol their neighborhoods.
Yeah, and they came off, and they're saying, well, the cops don't want to come here to deal with this stuff because they obviously have better things to do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So we're going to do it. And that's where the gangs started, and then it shows how the gangs got way off course.
Way off course.
and a lot of the OGs, being Bobby, which would be one of them, got really upset with that and said, this is not what we were doing.
Well,
and they left.
What you see with Bobby is how, like, I mean, it was a generational thing. He was already so integrated into the type of system that it was, that it took going to jail and meeting somebody like Ali to sort of, like, kind of open his eyes. Like you said, you got lights going off in your brain now.
Yeah.
See,
it pulled back the curtain. But you know, he saw the wizard and he was like, this is bullshit.
But that wasn't the scene that opened his eyes when he saw his friend. Was it Loco?
Yeah, it was Loco.
When you saw him and you heard that
the story that he told.
The story that he told, I think that was the scene that made you realize that it's not about protecting the neighborhood, it's about protecting the profits and the money. And when you saw that, I think he realized that
Yeah, the catalyst was obviously his son, hearing about his son, being out with all the kids, stealing stereos or whatever.
And that's how they started back then, was they were going out and jacking car stereos. I mean, Ryan
it happens,
was a couple years younger, but that happened a lot.
See, I think
this is a fictional story, but I guarantee you versions of this have happened a lot. You know what I mean? Like I'm from Los Angeles. I'm not from that part of Los Angeles. That's a little more southwest. But I mean, it's basically like I know that neighborhood, like Hoover and 52nd, you know what I mean, 57th, all stuff out there.
And I live down there, and I know that area too.
Sort of based on, but I mean, when you have these kinds of generational problems, it's he's so deep into it that he still has the anger. He's like, I know I don't want to be in this, but then meet somebody like Ali, and he's like, this is why,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was kind of both. I think the son was kind of the antithesis, but you see the fact that they weren't protecting Loco and they kicked him out. I think that was the one that really, it's like, okay, why? And then when he said, and your son, and I think that was the part that made him go, okay, time to rethink this. And I think when he met Ali, it was the point that it gave him, after Ali kind of stood up and said, you're going to shut up and listen to me because you don't have a choice because you're stuck in here with me. I think that gave him the ability to actually listen, and I think that's what it was. And I think that's why
he made him read all the books that he had. I don't remember specifically what they were, but I mean,
there were a lot of
Martin Luther King, kind of
the Underground Railroad books, those types, where they came from.
But he said it's about attitude. You know what I mean? You got to change your attitude.
Yeah. The point of this movie, as far as I was ever concerned, was it shows the necessity for that area to actually have real fathers, and that point where he's sitting there, and what I always took that as is that in that sense you have two dads. You got the gang who's going to raise your son to be a gang member and not be a good dad, and it's not necessarily that the kids are bad, because that was the part when he's in the hospital and they're showing the honky ball and all that stuff, and he kind of redeemed himself in that nurse's eyes because it was somebody of a good influence influencing him. And then he goes right back into the gangs, and they influence him in a bad direction again. And then when he's sitting there and he's like, Ray, you and I didn't have dads. Let me be a dad to this boy.
And you see the look on Ray's face, like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was this. Yeah, the oh shit scene. I think was the scene that gave the main character permission to leave, was the fact that he's right.
Yeah.
But I think before
because he realized, like, as soon as he said it, it snaps into focus. Like, damn, that is really why we do this. You know what I mean?
think the thing with his son, I thought the most interesting point was after he got out in the hospital into that group home, and you saw people starting to kind of starting to gang up on him, whatever. And when he said deuces, you get to see here. Yeah, you get to see the fact that he's like, crap. He's thrown back into it so much. He's like, it's the only way he could protect himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's just it's a vicious cycle.
It is. It really is, especially in an area where there were lots of gangs running rampant, which is where he was. I mean, there's probably 3 gangs represented in just that group home.
Oh,
sure. Yeah.
The thing that I actually wrote down was a lot. Let's see. To me, and this is going to be a little odd, but it has some parallels with American History X when Norton's character was in jail, and the black dude was really, really trying to help him to see the light of how everybody's equal. I think that has similarities with Ali too, because Ali's saying, you can't do this. You got to stop this violence. Be better than the situation you're in. And I saw that going, hey, there's a lot of parallels there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's American History X was a little more just kind of like really just dumb ignorance. You know what I'm saying? Just teenage angst, but turned into just this extreme hate.
This was
about
societal,
like you have no choice. Like Loco says to him in jail, like when Bobby tells him he's 10 years old, he's like, that they don't ask any questions at that age.
Yeah.
When somebody gets to you at 10 years old and says, hey man, here's some money, you can take care of your family and your friends. All you got to do is just, do a couple little things for me.
Yeah.
You don't even think about it.
Well, just go get that stereo. It's insured.
I think, American History X is, situational, or I think this one is a societal thing.
Right.
You get to see because of the poverty, no money, poor politics.
And like James said, I mean, the lack of just, if your father doesn't stick around, you don't know shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't tell you, don't follow my mistakes.
Yeah, and I think the greatest part about this movie to me is you get to see him struggle with that. You get to see him struggle with his old self, being the I'm a badass gang member. You can't do anything, to the new guy who's like, I don't want to do this. This isn't who I want to be. So you get to see. Yeah. I love the struggle it shows, because every time he's at a jail, you could see him when he's talking to his girlfriend or wife, to seeing
girlfriend.
To the part when he's dealing with the other gang members and the kids. You get to see that his old self is right there, and that's the same where where Ali was. You get to see that it's a constant struggle to be the better man, and I really liked that redemptive part. I thought that was the best part of the movie.
Yeah. I agree. That was a really good part of the movie. Anyways, I think this movie is one of those that's really a story-driven movie, and it's backed up by actually a good actor. I really like Glenn Plummer.
Yeah, hell yeah.
He's
one
came
of the
off
earlier things he's done, and he's had a hell of a career since.
He has a really good career, and there's a lot of roles that he's done similar to this, and there's a lot of roles that are completely different.
I think he was.
Yeah, I believe he was in Colors. Yeah,
I'm almost positive he was.
Yeah, I think he was. Last I looked up his career, yeah, I think he was Colors. Anyways, so I backed off that. I actually would just toss this one up with a 4, because I mean, it's like Ryan said, it's a low budget movie. It wasn't really like blockbuster type of movie.
Well, shit, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I mean, indie movies, they're made because they have heart.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody felt they knew the material and wrote it, and this is what you get.
Yeah.
I'll agree. I give it a 4 out of 5. Same reason. This movie has... I still think this movie is still relevant today.
Yeah.
If you look at the
you know what? It's funny because nowadays, like I've seen this movie a few times, but usually, it was a while back. But now it kind of just plays like sort of like a period piece.
Yeah. But it's one of those period pieces that when you go back and watch it, you get memories of what that time was.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And like he said, it wasn't based off of any real events, but they happened. Everything in that movie, I'm sure, happened at some point.
Well, yeah. I think it wasn't based on a true story, but it was based on real events.
I can tell you for a fact that's what that neighborhood was like. That's what the people were like. That's what the system was like. I mean, that was it. That was Los Angeles in the early 90s.
So what do you give it, Ryan? What's your...
Oh, that's a 4, man. I'm totally agreeing with you guys on this one. I love this movie.
Yeah, this is one of those that I stuck around, and I always kind of joke around just going deuces at people just to see if they get the reference. So, I mean, this is one of those movies that if you haven't seen it, it's worth taking the time to watch it just because of the fact that the story's there. I wouldn't say so much that it's relevant today, but I'm not going to say that it's irrelevant today either.
Well, I think
the message still stands. You know what I mean? Maybe, like I said, it plays like a period piece because you drive through that neighborhood, it's not the same anymore.
Well, the reason why I say the story is still relevant because you still have situations where that exists, but I think it's relevant because you see a guy who grows up hardcore or whatever you want to call it, and you see him realize that path is not the right path. And I think that's the relevant part of the story, is the fact that it's kind of calling people in situations like that or dissimilar in some ways to become the better man. And I think that's what it's about.
What it really did really, really well was just it held a mirror up to that society. You know what I mean? And for good and for bad. I mean, it showed the good parts, for good, and it showed the bad parts for bad, but it was really fair, on the storytelling. So,
yeah, actually,
I think that's why it sort of hits home with a lot of people.
And
I agree.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say I agree with Ryan on that one.
And coming up, this is the movie portion of the show, and movie news, excuse me. And James has some news. So, what do you have for us?
Have you guys heard anything about Tomorrowland?
I've heard only what Disney has released. I know enough to be intrigued.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about.
Tomorrowland, Disneyland, Tomorrowland.
Yeah, it's a Disney movie, but
it's a Disney flick.
Fuck, man!
It's live action, allegedly.
Let me get here.
In Toontown next. I mean,
this one is
Frontierland.
Shh. Are you ready to listen?
Boy. Sit.
Okay. This one is done by Brad Bird. Have you heard of Brad Bird, Ryan?
Yeah, I know the name. I'm trying to.
He's
Remember?
done The Incredibles, Up, Ratatouille.
Yeah.
And not only that, but he's also supposedly has one second. Oh, there we go. I got a little distracted. He directed 2 episodes of The Simpsons in 90 and 91. So we're talking good Simpsons.
Is this a joint Pixar thing, or is this guy now just working for Disney?
Well,
I think this
because
is
Pixar are geniuses. Disney are money mongers.
Well, here's the thing: Disney owns Marvel. The Marvel movies you're seeing are Disney.
yeah.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying like
So this is Disney. From everything I've heard, this is Disney live action.
Tomorrowland?
But hold on.
What was that?
Tomorrowland. Sounds.
But this is Disney live action, though.
But it has an interesting cast. Do you know who Judy Greer is?
Not off the top of my head.
Archer.
Oh yeah. The woman that plays the mom,
No,
or is that Pam?
Pam, I believe. Anyway,
Okay.
but it's also got George Clooney jumping in on this one, and that one was rumored, and now it's actually confirmed. But it's got a lot of interesting things going on with it, and as far as what they're putting it out as is mystery sci-fi in the genre character, but I think they're putting it as mystery because Disney's not saying anything about it.
No, they're pumping out a
Laurie
ton
from House fame.
Yeah, they're pumping out a ton of viral stuff for it, though. I mean,
But yeah, there's
I've
a
heard
ton
about
of
this
viral
for a
stuff,
couple of years.
but they're not telling you what it's about.
no.
And so I'm curious because that's kind of like they're pulling a different type of stunt with this one, as far as I'm concerned.
I think they've
Well,
learned a lot
I don't
from
know. I
Marvel.
mean, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah,
the first
I
one was
can't believe I'm about to defend this, but you know,
the first one was really well done.
I
The
saw
rest,
it like 8 times, dude, in the theater. That was a great movie. Everything subsequent was terrible, but let's not get started on that.
yeah.
So I really want to know what this is about because I've heard it's live action. I don't know if it is. I really want to see it though because
Well, Judy Greer is a voice actress.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about too. And George Clooney has done voice acting too.
Sure.
So that's where I'm kind of at. Do you think this is going to be, since the director doesn't really have anything of
live action.
put in there, do you think this is going to actually be live action? Because that's what I was under the impression too. So is it live action or is it going to be I don't want to say 3D animation, but the type of Pixar animation type of thing?
This is what makes me think it's going to be a cartoon.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me move it to my iPad.
Oh, yeah, you just kind of closed it.
It's basically what it is. It's the Tomorrowland logo with a little nuclear symbol on it.
Yeah.
Or
Now-
atom symbol, excuse me.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at on it. And this is kind of just not really news, but it's just
Here's
to
the-
for
it's
those
kinda
of you
like that.
out there who haven't.
Or news is never really news anyway. Don't beat yourself up about it.
But no, I'm just saying this isn't really news. It's more like rumor train. And I'm actually, for those of people
said.
who may be watching it who aren't informed about this, look this one up and see what you guys think. Because as far as I'm concerned, I liked kind of the stuff that God, I remember saying.
I'm gonna
Brad Bird.
go ahead and just red light this on principle.
What's your red light?
I'm gonna red light the movie. It's a no go.
Are you?
But
But I like the movies that Brad Bird has put out. I enjoyed Ratatouille. As far as I was concerned with Ratatouille as being a cook, they informed somebody about that stuff.
But here's
Well, again, Pixar, they're geniuses.
But
here's
The Incredibles. You did not like The Incredibles?
No, Pixar is geniuses. They're geniuses.
I know, but you're saying Disney's going to screw this one up.
No, I'm saying is it just Disney or is it you know?
well, Disney.
I don't know. Disney's name is on it.
Pixar's is Disney.
Yeah.
Are they
Just like Marvel is Disney.
okay? Then
Disney
if they absorbed all the yeah.
Disney controls
Tomorrowland, man, I don't know, dude.
Well, here's the
Disney controls everything.
Well, here's the question.
I know.
Well, here is the sole question. Is it really about Tomorrowland, or what Tomorrowland is based on?
That's what I'm curious about, and I think that's what they're trying to get you to think.
Like the Tomorrowland when it was invented or whatever in the.
Well, no. Here's.
But the other point that I want to bring.
Well, here's the
Okay,
thing.
go
My
on.
idea
I want
is
to bring
it
up one point.
Is it
after.
about some futuristic vision, post-apocalyptic, something that made like a happier future, blah 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 blah, something that made Walt Disney go, "Oh, I like the idea of a Tomorrowland. I'm going to make a Tomorrowland." Is it based off that, or will it be in the park of Tomorrowland? Because if it's like that, then I think it's going to suck.
Well, I agree, but the point that I want to bring up too is all these little kind of teasers that they've been tossing everybody, or little crumbs that they've been tossing everybody.
Lots of little crumbs.
That is not for the kids.
No.
So who are they really marketing to right now with this flick?
People who remember what Tomorrowland is?
No, I'm thinking like our age. I think that's what they're after with these types of things. Is they're trying to intrigue us enough to go and see it, and possibly take our kids.
Because they've been releasing like they released like a box, and this box was about Tomorrowland. They've done some crazy stuff.
And you brought up Pirates of the Caribbean and how they played it off that one too. I mean, that one.
At least that was, like here's a ride that sort of has like this story theme thing going through. Tomorrowland is Tomorrowland. There's a bunch of different shit going on.
Have you seen the Haunted House movie?
Why would I do that?
The original one?
Disney's Haunted House.
The original one?
There's only one. There was the one with Eddie Murphy.
There was another one too.
About the actual haunted house?
I don't know.
Because that, Disney doesn't have a great track record with making rides and with ride movies.
I mean, we all understand that they do this stuff so they can make money, right?
Oh, of course. But so it also has to be good.
This could go either way.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan on the fact that this can go either way.
But right now it has me intrigued. But on the other thing, so did Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim, which I liked. But you look at all the stuff they had into it, they played it off as better than I think it turned into.
Yeah.
I don't know.
See, that's the problem with doing viral marketing campaigns. Because if you take a look, OCP for RoboCop has a website.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding either.
Well, wasn't there also some stuff that they did for Resident Evil Online too? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was some stuff that they put on there for that. So I don't.
The problem is Mila Djokovic, and I don't believe I'm saying that.
The problem is that they did too many of them.
Yeah.
If they had just stopped with the first two.
At least you stopped hearing about them after the first two.
That's true.
No, they could have stopped after the first one.
Yeah,
but that's hindsight.
Anyways, but yeah, so that's kind of what I was bringing up. Is I was just seeing what you guys had heard about it. I kind of agree with Ryan on the fact that they have a high chance of screwing this one up too. That it's possibly going to be a no-go. I don't know. I'll give it a shot.
I'll give him a chance, but I actually agree with you guys.
Dude, you're giving Ben Affleck a shot. Shut up.
But like I said, I'm reserving judgment.
Reserve judgment here, jackass.
I agree. There's a high percentage of suckage. I also think there's a high percentage for it to be at least entertaining.
But I gotta say, I'm getting sick of this marketing style.
Yeah,
me too, man. That's what I'm just sitting there like, fuck, man, I can't believe this has turned into this.
Yeah, it's like we've gotten to the point that you've had so many complaints about that the best part of the movie was all in the trailer that you're going to show no trailer now?
Do you know what this really reminds me of? Prometheus. You had the original Prometheus script was amazing. It tied into aliens. It was awesome. And then you got a movie that turned into Prometheus.
And, as far as I'm concerned, that movie could have been worse.
It this all just seems like printing money to me.
It is.
In a world where like really good stories aren't being told because people want to just fucking print money.
But see, that's why I think that's why indie movies are really popular.
Right, yeah, and then they're starting to get a lot more. There's a lot more formats for indie movies to sort of get out there. You have to look for them a little more.
Yeah, but what my wife said recently is, we need to stop making comic book movies. Go back to original scripts.
I don't know if
put some effort into thinking.
I disagree that we should stop making comic movies.
I disagree with the fact that we need to
only making comic
exactly. Movies. That does not need to be our only new movies coming out.
I was cool with it when it was once every other year. You know what I mean? Like that's fine.
But not 6 times a year.
I think.
Seriously.
I think you got to do it if you can do it well. Like if you look how they pulled off Avengers. That is amazing. They made 4 or 5 movies that tied into one big movie that'll tie into other movies.
And that's pretty much what they're doing. And then, like I said, I mean, it's a money print, but they're giving it to at least good people who are going to make good products, most likely.
And you're doing it in a way that has never been done before, ever. I have never seen movies that tie into other movies that tie in another movie that is made way down the line. If they can do... I'm tired of bad superhero movies. That's the thing.
X-Men.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3.
I don't know, dude. They're doing Days of Future Past, dude. I'm
No. X-Men First Class and X-Men Days of Future Class are redeeming that whole
yes,
thing.
yes,
So
yes. That I agree
I'm
with.
happy with. But the X-Men 1, 2, 3, and Origins...
And Wolverine.
Reserve judgment.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching Real Flix Reviews.
Yeah.
I gave South Central a 4 to 5. James got a 4 to 5. Ryan gave it a 4 to 5.
Deuces.
And next
Times
week
3.
is Ryan's pick. So, have you decided on which movie you're going to let us watch?
Let you watch. Yeah, I did actually. I went back and forth between a handful of, this is a serious movie with a message, but then I settled on a sort of a lesser-known Mel Brooks movie that I know a lot of people haven't seen, and it kind of upsets me because it's really one of his more kind of personal stories. You know what I mean? It's a little more serious than his usual stuff, but it's still a Mel Brooks movie. It's called To Be or Not to Be from 1983, starring Mel Brooks, Anne Bancroft, and a very, very young Tim Matheson.
I was kind of hoping it was going to be Nazis on Ice.
Close. Very, very close.
It's Nazis in space.
Close enough.
Again, very close.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching Real Flix Reviews. See us next week.
Meow.